Enterprise TV, a tradition of truth.
Hello and welcome again to Enterprise Friday. Today is the last work day and work week of the year 2023. I am Henry Igwibike. Now we'll go to what a newspaper dailies have for us this morning, and right after that we'll be going to our conversations for this morning also. But while we do that, please I will enjoin you to please visit our social media platforms at Enterprise TV 7. Subscribe to our YouTube channel at Enterprise TV 7 and press the notification bell so you get notified whenever we drop our contents. To do justice to our newspaper reviews, today is Mr. Elvis Elimihela. He is a journalist and a public affairs analyst. Mr. Elimihela, you're welcome to Enterprise Friday today. All right, so let's a quick one. Let's move to our daily for today, and starting from the Daily Trust newspaper, and the big story there says bandits give 7-day ultimatum on abducted Zamfara varsity students, and the writer there says threatened to kill 3 girls if colleagues not released. And also still on the right, we have negotiated to save our daughters' parents tell federal government. And on the top slip of the same newspaper, we have we will maintain 3,500 naira cement price from January 2024 rather, and that's coming from Boa Cement. And also we have, still on the top slip of the same newspaper, we have Plateau killings. The survivor narrates ordeal as 148 confirmed dead in Bocas. And on the left slip of the newspaper, we have a little caption there that says, Ondo, more Akeredolu's appointees resign hours after Ayedati was taken over. Bruno governor seeks justice for driver killed by a soldier over a bribe. Mr. Elimihela, let's take a little bit on the bandits giving 7-day ultimatum on abducted Zamfara varsity students. Tell me, isn't the audacity, the amount of audacity is really ridiculous? Don't you think so?
It is very traumatic, Henry. I mean, for parents of those children to read this, what we are reading this morning, 7 days ultimatum, that their children are going to be killed. You know what that means to parents? The audacity is so high. That's why we are calling on the federal government. This banditry in Nigeria must not be treated with kids' gloves any longer. We had Nigeria government had to stamp its ground and look into what is actually where this, terrorism or whatever is coming from, and nip it in the bud. We saw 8 years of General Buhari's administration, and Nigerians so believe that as a retired general that he was going to do the work, but he couldn't do it. But President Tinubu said he knew the job when he was asking for it. He knows too well where the shoe pinches Nigeria. And now, one of the greatest problems this nation is facing, not just calling foreign investors, is this insecurity.
Exactly.
If it is not called, no foreign investor will come in. As we are reading this paper right here in Nigeria this morning, they're also reading it.
Definitely.
The world is a global village now.
True.
So, somebody coming into Nigeria and say he wants to come and invest in an insecure environment is not possible.
Definitely.
So instead of burning our hard-earned naira, borrowed naira to travel abroad all in the name of calling in foreign investors, he should do the needful at home by looking at the source of this banditry and this terrorism. Their financiers must be looked into. It is not the boys that are carrying the AK-47, those ragtag boys. They are not the ones. Have you thought of the logistics that is being put into procuring arms and bringing it to this nation before it is distributed to these boys in the bush? You have to think of, have you thought of these boys' feed? Have you thought of the provision of the motorcycles they use, in moving from one location to another and carrying out these acts? Who are the financiers? Which route do this thing pass into this nation? Especially when we still have a functioning customs and excise.
It's definitely.
We still have it in our borders. And even they are even supported by other sisters, armed forces, to do the job. So when we now begin to wonder, where are all these things coming in? These guys, every bullet you shoot, you know what it means, the cost. Where is the money coming from?
So do we sense any form of negotiation with the so-called agencies and the formations that are supposed to be saving our territory?
That is what the federal government should look into.
But do you think they're looking into it?
They must look into it. It's not just enough for them to call for foreign investors. They must have to settle their homes for foreign investors to come in. They must look into it. Let me tell you, some time ago, remember the former president, Goodluck Jonathan, said Boko Haram has infiltrated his government and every sector of Nigeria economy. That statement, as we speak this morning, has come to stay and it has become true. If we don't have all these people around the government and every part of this economy, by now it would have become a thing of the past, which means they are growing stronger every day and they are contractors to government. Some of them are even government employees. Some of them are indirectly or indirectly they are using the same Nigeria money to terrorize Nigeria because they make money from this nation. Then we also have to look into some of this illicit act, especially National Drug Law Enforcement Agency. Have to look at some of these barons, drug barons. Because for you to have much money to finance terrorism of this nature, you know what it means.
Exactly.
Money that are coming from very careless areas, stupidiously. That's what we are seeing here. So the federal government must look into this. It's not just going to pay a ransom and release these guys. Like what we just read now. Okay, maybe after this threat now, probably the Zamfara state government
would negotiate.
Or federal government will negotiate and these children will be released. It's not enough. You're only treating the system, Henry. You've not treated the real amen.
But let's even take a look at the way we refer to these people. Don't you think that name, the catchword, bandits, it's given these people the leeway to do more? Because if we would refer to them as terrorists, don't you think it will go a long way to helping our government understand the gravity of criminality that come with these people?
Absolutely. The name bandits, underscore what they are doing.
Definitely, exactly.
Absolutely. Their name they are terrorists in total. Some time ago I was reading the Tucano jet that, the billions of dollars that was spent in procuring Tucano jet. They said it is meant to fight terrorists and not to fight bandits. Can you imagine? Why are you separating? These people carry arms to kill people, whether bandit or terrorists. So if the Tucano jet is going to be useless because it's going to be used for
terrorists,
terrorists
and not bandits,
give them the name. Let them have that token of terrorism. They are all terrorists. And as a result, the Tucano jet should be deployed to do its job appropriately. So a situation where you are treating some area, IPOB was not as strong as this when it was declared terrorist.
Yeah.
But today, the Boko Haram and the bandits that are gone across the whole of North Central and even part of Northwest are still being called bandits. Let the federal government do the needful. Give them the appropriate name and deploy Nigerian armed forces to fight them appropriately.
Now, a quick one. Let us dive into the economy of Nigeria for a bit, and that's because there's a headline here that says we will maintain 3,500 cement price of January 2024 BUA. Now, Dangote Cement, which seems to be the market leader in the sector, still sells for 5,400 naira, 500 naira. So what do you think is going on? Do you think the federal government in some way is trying to subsidize BUA, or do you sense a war between Dangote and BUA?
Well, that's what an open economy brings, and that's what competition brings to commodities. BUA is also a manufacturer of cement, while Dangote is one of them. If we have more of this, we'll begin to have this price competition. That's why it should be an open market where one party will not become a monopolistic market that will now begin to, use its product to put a lot of strain on Nigerian forces that want to embark on properties. So I love what BUA is doing. I pray it's able to,
sustain it
and execute it, because there are going to be forces that is going to fight this news item we just read now. Before this January that he's proposing, he has to stand his ground. I'm sure he has done his homework so well. The forces behind let this price be higher so that most Nigerians will completely be traumatized and pauperized as a result of not being able to, acquire that property, will not like this kind of story that went into the media this morning. But I know before they came up with this price, they would have done their own work. The other, especially their major competitors, are going to fight them, but they should stand their ground, because if they stood their ground, Nigerians will support them. At least when you are talking of almost about 2,000 naira out of the price, you know what that means. They'll have more market,
more demand.
the demand will be high, and even these are some of the companies the federal government should also think
even
at the
think
end
about
of the year, they should be
helping.
recognized
Exactly.
for giving succor to Nigerians.
True,
These are
very,
some of the
very, very true. All right, let's move on to the Nigerian Tribune newspaper today, and the big story there says Plateau killings. Human lives seem to mean nothing anymore in Nigeria, GNI. And the writer there says Shatima holds town hall meeting with Plateau leaders, stakeholders, and also reps a minority caucus wants end to senseless killing. And still on the same newspaper, we have Ayedatiwa leads Ondo ESCO members on condolence visit to Akeredolu's widow in Ibadan. And right there we have the image of Ayedatiwa and the widow. We have 20.3 million out-of-school children. 36 states FCT failed to assess 68.7 billion naira grant in 18 years. And that's coming from UBEC. And still on the same newspaper, we have court extends interim order against INEC PDP over 25 defected Rivers lawmakers. Mr. Limhele, let's talk about out-of-school children. They say if you fail to educate or sustain education today, then the future of a nation is nothing to write home about. And now we have 20.3 million out of school children. That is close to the size of a country. There are countries in Africa that are not close to 10 million. And now we have 20.3 million Nigerian children after school. Isn't that disastrous for our future?
Absolutely disastrous, Henry. That's part of that. Those are already waiting terrorists, as the case may be, if they are not taken care of. Because, Henry, these people cannot woo you and I into their nefarious activities, because they know you will not buy it.
True.
But these guys that are out of school, that are on the street, they don't know their left from right. And therefore, when they are brought into a camp and recruited and given arms, they don't know whether they are even doing the right thing or they are doing the wrong thing. So the onus lies on this government, because yesterday I was hearing the president talking about school feeding that is going to continue, and that will be able to help in bringing
people back to school.
It's important. It's one of those ways to encourage them.
But how pragmatic is that?
But
we have issues that we've had that before, and it didn't work.
We had it under a different regime, which we believe it was a total failure. I don't want to remember anything about Buhari's regime. To be sincere, it was a monumental failure to this nation. But let's also believe now that we have a new minister, and now he said it's not going to be under the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs. It's going to be under the Ministry of Education. Okay. Yes, let Education Ministry that release this number, you beg release this number, that number, release that number, to be able to know where these out-of-school children are much more prevalent. The federal government and the state government should work together, even possibly the local government, because these children have to be brought out of the streets so that they will not constitute another bandit. We are trying to, even talk of how to eliminate now. Banditry will continue if these children are not given their means of livelihood, because these people who are recruiting them know where to get them. Have you thought of it? These children, the guys that are carrying this arm, we have never heard that they are short in number. They keep on having them, recruit them, because the market is there. And some of the market is these children that are not in school. So the federal government must begin to think of how to bring these children. Remember the Amajeri schools that were set up by the past administration, Jonathan's government. Have you thought of what happened to all that school? Over 100 and something in the north. Now, I want President Tinubu to speak to the northern governors. If this must be solved, this school should be revived. It was built with Nigerian taxpayers' money. It should be revived. And the function of that, the school's curriculum should be calibrated in such a way that both Islamic and Western education is taught, so that we are not taking away their religion from them. We are saying you can go ahead with your religion, but you also have to know some of those things that are happening in the world. You know, by the time these children graduate, some of them can become Islamic scholar and also become even lecturers in respective in some institutions.
But the question is, why? What if there is a hidden agenda to all of that from leaders, especially from the northern part of Nigeria?
Yeah, there are. You know, it is when you deliberately make somebody to be poor or not knowing his right from his left, is very vulnerable to, you know, for you to use him at beck and come. That's what is happening there. The northern oligarchy knows about this. They know too well that if these children's eyes are open, they've over the years, they have actually taken away their rights from them. If their eyes is open today, they are even going to fight them, because these children's rights have been taken away from them over the years. Imagine they drive SUVs.
Their kids and their children, they send their children to Ivy League schools.
Houses. Their children are not in Nigeria. They are in the best universities.
The best universities are all over the world.
Even those are in Nigeria, they are in private universities. But these children are with a bowl on their hand, on the street, daily, begging for alms to survive, to eat. And I mean, can you think of such dehumanizing tendency that they brought upon these children? So if these children today know their right, they will know that their first enemies are those that come from Abuja to feed them, to give them arms. They will begin to look for a way to talk to others that these children, these people are your enemies.
Do you think President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has the capacity to shave the magic wand and get all of these things away?
No,
Speak to the leaders in the north and allow them understand the importance.
The president has to. You know, one of the things he kept telling us that when he was campaigning was that he knows the problem of Nigeria and he's asking for the job to be given to him. Now he has gotten the job. So everything that he needs now to get this job done to the satisfactory of you and I, Nigerian, he has to do it. One of them is that this 220 million you made mention of in this story is another waiting arm bandits that they terrorize this nation if care is not taken. So he has to come in. You see, when you are talking about if the president has the wherewithal or has the power, I don't want to underrate the power of the president, especially a Nigeria president. You know, the constitution gave Nigeria president so much power, even greater than the one of the United States of America. So if he has such power and is not exercising it to bring welfare and bring good livelihood to these children, that means he would have failed in his campaign.
Now let's talk about banditry. Of course, that's where we are coming from. And the big story here says Plateau killings. Human lives seem to mean nothing anymore in Nigeria. Obviously, this is certain that no human civilized person who understands the value of life would love to go on a random killing of people. Of course, it's coming from the same sect that we're talking about, unemployed people, uneducated people, purportedly almajiris who have nothing to lose in all of this scheme. What do you think is the capacity that Shettima has as the vice president to stop all of this, knowing that he himself is coming from of a violent, prone region, and he has experience about all of this?
Well, he has to team up with his principal, that's the president, you know, for him to make this pronouncement, this statement. I don't think he's making it out of isolation, because if we want to take his regime 8 years in Borno, we know we have so many of these Amagerito and this crisis in Borno throughout his regime. You remember there was even a time he went to Aso Rock and said the terrorists are much more a better arm than the Nigerian military. And you know, he made that when one of these occasions he visited the president. So now that he is the vice president, all those ill he saw when he was governor that he could not tackle, this is the best opportunity for him to tackle them now. First of all, now the armed forces have to be well equipped. And the welfare of the armed forces personnel must be taken care of.
True.
Absolutely. Because I read that this December, the military were not paid their salaries. Why? They need all these things, at least for the families of the military men, to also celebrate well. So those things must be curtailed. Now that he is there, and look at what just happened in Jos now, Plateau State. I mean, if let us believe that this may be the end in this administration, because a repetition of this, we underscore what he has just said. It means they are recording failure. We don't want any of this to happen again. 150 something persons massacred when people are celebrating. It happened in Niger State in Mandala some years ago. Mandala bombing in Niger State. We thought it was going to be the end. And since then, we have seen the successive bombing and killing of Nigerians. And successive government have been playing a lip service to it. We believe now that Bola Ahmed Tinubu, the president of Nigeria, and working with his vice, especially when the vice is coming from that troubled region, who have actually criticized the Nigerian government not doing enough to curtail it. There should be a solution to this now.
All right, that's good. So let's move to our last daily for today, and this is coming from the Guardian newspaper, and we have a very, big story there, and an animated work, that goes with the big story, and it says Man of the Year, George Weah, a majesty of democracy. George Weah and a majesty of democracy. And on the downslip of the same newspaper, we have Plateau killings. U.S. and France seek arrest of perpetrators as death toll hits 200. Fresh worries as 20 electricity plants face hurdle. More resignations loom as Ayedatiwa takes charge in Ondo State. And at the bottom slip of the newspaper, we have court extends interim order against INEC PDP over defected Rivers lawmakers. Mr. Elimi Hele, let's talk about the essence of democracy. Democracy is fantastic. Democracy is awesome if it is respected and the rule of law is obeyed. George Weah is made the Man of the Year. I guess it's because of the fact that he allowed democracy work the way democracy should work. At the end of that whole process, Asiwaju Bola Tinubu, the president of Nigeria, congratulated him and called him an awesome name. But it's very funny knowing how President Asiwaju Bola Tinubu came into power in the first place, but congratulating somebody who respected the true tenets of democracy. Do you really think George Weah ought to be the Man of the Year?
There's no doubt about it. Absolutely. It's my own, I have to commend the Guardian for even, recognizing him as Man of the Year. You see, most of the problems we have in Africa are actually problems of seat tight, by Nigerian presidents. This guy has only done one term. And he's not bothered about, let me use all my powers to entrench my stay in power, whether the people like it or not. He handed over. He conducted an election. He has to even go for a rerun. A runoff because the margin was so close. Yeah. And he availed himself. But in some African countries, even in Nigeria here, where we see a lot of manipulations, it could have been done by him. The power of the electoral umpire in Liberia was in his hands. He never used it. He knows where they are coming from. This is just a post-war economy. And if we have to use electoral crisis to go into war again, the country will completely be gone. He has the masses in heart, the people who owns democracy. He respected them. And that's what democracy is all about. He respected them. I don't want to bring crisis to my people. I don't want to bring war any longer. Why don't I leave? You remember when Sally Johnson, the lady woman, madam that left. He contested with her. That time, everybody was like, he's not educated, he's just a footballer. He cannot. So
he went back
President
to school,
Obama called him to Aso Rock and said, come, it's not your time yet. Allow Madam to go. Madam went and did her years. Then he went back to school, got himself educated, got himself equipped, and came in. The Liberian people said, yeah, we love you, we're going to vote for you. They voted for him. He had his 4 years. Now, he was supposed to go for a second tenure. They said, no, probably you have not done well. Oh, okay. The vice to Johnson Sally is the present president now. So they saw that this vice with Madam did well. Okay, you have had your term. This is the best you can give to us. We voted. Let's have a change again. The people voted. That's what democracy is all about. Dynamism. It's not whether you are good or not. You fester yourself on people, even when the people are saying we don't need you any longer. That's what African leaders should guide against. And he has shown example. Goodluck Jonathan showed the same example in Nigeria.
True.
So this Nigerians who are credible in this area should be celebrated. I gave it to Guardian for picking him as the man of the year, knowing fully well how in 1990 the war in Liberia broke out, and you know the number of people that died, and you know how many Nigerian soldiers lost their lives, not to talk of Nigerian resources that was expended into ECOMOG to fight that war. I think kudos to Guardian newspaper for picking George Weah as man of the year.
Exactly. That is the beauty of democracy, when the rule of law is respected, when the wishes of the people is respected, and that is the importance of democracy. And I hope and I pray that Nigeria would learn from this, especially coming from those in authority. Well, that's just about the time we have on newspaper reviews. I'd love to say thank you, Mr. Elvis Elimihele, for being part of our show today.
Happy New Year in
and
advance.
Happy New Year in advance. Thank you so very, very much. So when we return, PDP says the seats of the 26 Rivers House of Assembly lawmakers who defected to the APC remain vacant. Conversation in a bit is still Enterprise Friday. Please don't go anywhere.
Enterprise TV, a tradition of truth.